Hey, what is up, guys? It is Laser Hunter here, and today we are playing the Stanley Parable again. So
All of his co-workers were gone.
I
What could
heard
it mean?
that
Stanley
you can
decided to go
somehow
to the
get
meeting
up
room.
on
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
no
No matter
somehow
how
get up
hard
like
Stanley
on this
looked,
window,
he couldn't
and
find
there's a
a
unique
trace of
ending
his
there.
co-workers.
So I don't. Apparently, you have to get on the chair. Oh, okay. Uh, How do you get on the... Okay. You have to... What? Okay, finally. So, we just walk in the... Whoa.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
No.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place.
I don't know.
Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich.
Stop
Perhaps
stalling.
you just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
So, obviously I'm gonna begin the game again. Okay, let's go back there.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay, so
At
back
first,
here.
Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
So I'm gonna press a yes this time.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
Oh.
There once was a man...
Okay. I'm done. Okay, so this time I'm gonna follow
Wait,
the
Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Alright. I don't know what these mean. I've seen a couple around, but okay. So I'm gonna follow the narrator.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Let it ball up inside of you. Perfect.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay, so I'm guessing going to the boss's office. Okay, that's locked. Anything else here? No. Guess I'm going in here.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss
Yeah, how
had
do
been
I get
keeping
into
from
it,
him.
though?
And so the boss had assigned it an
Oh.
extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of
8.
course, Stanley
4,
couldn't possibly have known
5.
this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
Yep,
Stanley happened to
completely
input
random.
the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Down. I don't like this. Low. Okay.
Descending deeper
Okay.
into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself.
Why
to
can't I
question
stop
the
up
nature
there?
of his job.
This floor is
Why
up
did he
there.
feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay. I'm gonna throw it this way because I did say I was gonna follow him, the narrator, exactly, so.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okay. Oh, there.
Now the monitors jumped to
Oh.
life, their true nature
Wait,
revealed.
I forgot what I
Each
was.
bore the number of an employee in the building,
Oh, no.
Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
Oh,
and
is that-
Stanley, one of them, eternally
office
monitored in
might
this
be
place
mine.
where freedom meant nothing.
There's the meeting area. Okay.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Up we go.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Oh, here
But
we
here
are.
was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Alright, so I'm gonna turn it off this time, but I'm gonna go back in and see what happens. Actually, I'm gonna go down that escape route next, but right now, what? Oh.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, so I assume that's the end. Yeah, looks like it. But I like how that played on, even though, you know, he like freed himself from the mind control, but he was still following, you know, the narrator, so kind of
All of his
ironic in
co-workers
that
were
way,
gone.
but
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
wait, what? I don't know if that picks up on the, is it like raining outside or something? I don't know if you guys can hear it, but
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
okay, so I'm gonna
he
go down
entered
the
door on
escape
his
tunnel.
left.
Gonna go down the escape tunnel this time.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. Oh, I forgot
Stepping
the...
into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to
I don't
discover
remember the,
not an indication of any human
the
life.
passcode.
What could it
so-
mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known
Okay,
this.
2845. I'll remember that.
By simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okay, so I'm going down again. That's the only way you can go. And so we're here now.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
So I'm going
Mind
this way
Control
now.
Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Oh, I'm staying on this path.
At this point,
I'm
Stanley was
committed.
making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Why is there fog in here? Or is that just like the dust you see from lights? But it looks like fog. Okay. Okay. What do I just... Okay. Did I die? No, it's loading. What? Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, it reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Oh, what? What?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led.
Okay, guys,
As the
sorry for
machine
that.
whirred into motion and
Had
Stanley
some
was
frame rate
inched
trouble, but
closer
I'm back
and
here
closer
now.
to his demise, it reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
I don't want to die.
Farewell,
Yes, oh,
Stanley,
okay.
cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body,
It
killing
did?
him
Well,
instantly.
That's a shame. Oh. Hello? Guess I'm going this way. The Stanley Parable.
And yet
Yes,
it would
that
be
is
just
the
a few
game that I'm
minutes
currently
before
playing.
Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Oh, there we go. Oh, what is this? Looks like a museum.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
Oh,
Do you
this
see
is cool.
now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
That's cool. The office? What? Okay. Okay, buttons. Oh, here are the office. I've never seen one with solitaire on it. I have seen this one. Oh, so that's I guess that was the original version of the freedom ending. Oh, so I guess this is like a museum of all the past endings that they took out of the game and stuff. So I guess you could go down on the elevator. Okay. What's this? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know. What is this? Okay. Okay, so what is this ending? Okay, so is that supposed to be portal? I don't know. Anyways. Meeting room. Oh, so that's how the cargo lift used to. Okay. Okay. Phone. I haven't done that ending, so I'm not gonna look at it. Okay, well, that is it for today, guys. If you want to see more of this, like, comment, and subscribe. I would appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video.